Excellencies, dear colleagues, dear friends, welcome to the information session on the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee. I wish to extend my warm greetings and regards to you all through the screen. As you know, the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee will be held in 1 month. From now on, we are ready. We are actively counting down the days. Actually, since the 15th extraordinary session of the World Heritage Committee, when we decided on the day the World Heritage Center, the advisory bodies, and the host country. I believe that you have followed the official website of this session, which was launched after the distribution of the invitation letter and the first batch of documents that have been available online. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Secretariat, the Chinese authorities, experts, colleagues for their tremendous efforts for this very special and heavily programmed session. That's why we are gathering today to listen to the progress of the preparation on the upcoming session, identify areas and issues that we need to further focus on, and lift up our spirits to make the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee a successful, efficient, and united one. I'm delighted that the World Heritage Center and the Chinese authorities will brief us with detailed information on the preparation in various aspects. They are ready to answer your questions after each presentation. Dear representatives, now I would like to give the floor to the Ambassador of China, His Excellency Mr. Yang Jin, to present the organization of the session on behalf of the host country. It will be followed by a short video provided by the host city of Fuzhou.
Many thanks, Mr. Chair. Very, very happy to see you on the screen. At the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to the Secretariat for their diligent work in organizing the information meeting today and preparing for the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee in general. As the host country, the Chinese government attaches great importance to the preparation for the forthcoming session and earnestly fulfills its commitments. In accordance with the unique and unprecedented format of the session, China has further strengthened communication and cooperation with the Secretariat, the committee members, and the state parties to adjust the working plan, taking timely actions to promote its implementation, aiming to ensure a smooth and successful session. Taking this opportunity, I have the pleasure to brief you all on the progress of the preparatory work. First, the opening ceremony of the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee will be held from 1:00 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Paris time on the 16th July 2021 in Fuzhou. The host wishes to invite ambassadors and diplomatic envoys of the committee members and the state parties in China, as well as representatives of relevant international organizations in China to be present at the opening ceremony. In this case, I would appreciate very much if you could transmit the sincere welcome and invitation to your distinguished diplomats in China. Meanwhile, the opening ceremony will be live streamed globally. The host believes it will not only present a grand visual feast for all of us, but also demonstrate China's firm determination and solemn commitment to the noble cause of World Heritage protection. Although it is a great pity that we cannot attend the ceremony in person due to the ongoing pandemic, the host welcomes all of us to attend the ceremony online, to embrace the opening of the session and to feel the hospitality of the Fuzhou people. Second, the host has set up an official website for the session and will provide the participants with an efficient and convenient information and communication service. Through this website, the participants could find timely and comprehensive information, including session agenda, news, and activities updates. The linkage to the website can be found in the invitation letter, in the information document, and the website of the World Heritage Center. Third, the host had made good preparation in facilities and services for the chairperson to preside over the meeting in Fuzhou with the able assistance of the secretariat team headed by Dr. Rosner. In particular, the host has redesigned the layout of the conference venue and improved facilities and equipment according to the online format of the session. Now, all the hardware, network facilities, and the supporting services stand ready. The chairperson and the secretariat team could communicate with the committee members, state parties, and advisory bodies, as well as our colleagues in the secretariat in Paris in a timely and smooth manner. Fourth, with the support of all the committee members and the state parties, the preparation of the World Heritage Young Professionals Forum and the World Heritage Site Managers Forum are proceeding very well. The two forums will be opened on the 5th and the 7th July, respectively. Although these two forums will be held online, the organizers believe that they deserve our close attention as the issues to be discussed in the two forums will be highly relevant. Mr. Chair, in the past 2 years also, the governments of Fujian province and Fuzhou city have made constant efforts in preparing for hosting this important session. They have invested heavily in terms of human, financial, and material resources. With great anticipation and hospitality, they have made excellent preparation to welcome and accommodate all committee members, state parties, advisory bodies, and the secretariat to go to Fuzhou. Unfortunately, in the current exceptional circumstance, we could not go to Fuzhou to attend the session. Fuzhou City has prepared a short video for this information meeting to present us with an overview of the city and its preparatory work for the forthcoming session. With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, I will invite the Secretary to play this short video. Finally, on behalf of the host, I would also like to extend the warm welcome to all of you to visit China and Fuzhou when the pandemic is over. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Now the short video.
Come on, you send it for me. That's coming.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I would also like to express my gratitude for the warm hospitality and the generous arrangements made by the Fujian provincial government and the Fuzhou municipality. I'm confident that even with the online model, we will be able to enjoy the amazing view of the World Heritage Sites in Fujian and the dynamics of Fuzhou City. Dear representatives, any comments or questions for the host country and the host city?
I think, Mr. Chair, Egypt wishes to speak, please.
Okay, representative of Egypt, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks so much for all the information. Maybe, can we just be sure that we are going to receive an official correspondence for the invitation so that we send it to our colleagues who are based already in China? Because my understanding is that, I mean, it would be preferable if we can have kind of an invitation letter explaining exactly the logistics and formalities, etc., so that we can send it to our embassy in Beijing, and then they can decide based on this. Because lacking this information, I think we might not be able easily to organize it. Thank you so much again for everything.
Okay. Any more?
Mr. Chair, there seems to be another question from Syria, please.
Okay, please, the distinguished representative of Syria.
Oui, bonjour à tous et à toutes.
Yes, hello everybody. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Secretariat for the World Heritage Center for all of the efforts that have gone into preparing the 44th extended session. I'd also like to congratulate the host state, the People's Republic of China, for all of the efforts that have gone into this, together with the city of Fuzhou for having hosted the event, notwithstanding the very difficult circumstances of COVID-19. So our very warm gratitude goes to the host country and to the people of the People's Republic of China and to His Excellency, the Ambassador of China to UNESCO, the National Committee of China also for all of the efforts being deployed in this direction, and we support what Egypt has said in terms of the need for an official letter. This would certainly facilitate things vis-a-vis our accredited embassies and ambassadors in China. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any more?
There seem to be no more questions, Mr. Chair, so the authorities may wish to answer.
Yeah, now I'd like to invite His Excellency Mr. Yang Jin, the Ambassador of China, to make some response. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I thank the Egyptian colleague and Her Excellency, the Syrian Ambassador, for the comments and the question. For the invitation to diplomats in China, I feel that the Chinese National Commission is working on that. They will send invitation officially to your embassy in Beijing. And I understand that some countries have consulates in Shanghai and some have consulates in Guangzhou. The communication system in that part of the country is very convenient. The National Commission will send the invitation officially to the diplomatic team, and they will receive all the detailed information and logistical arrangements in due course. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your response. Dear representatives, let me now invite Ms. Rossler, Director of the World Heritage Center, to give us a presentation on the progress of the preparation of the extended 44th session of the World Heritage Committee. Ms. Rossler, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson, and let me thank you for your kind words to the Secretariat. And also, I would like to thank the Ambassador of China for his words and the preparations which were carried out. Let me today present to you a number of points which are very important for all states parties and especially the committee members in the preparation of the session. First of all, we provided practical information in the document 44Com Inf 1, and that information document was dispatched on Friday, the 4th of June, and gives really practical information with protocols for the conduct of the online meeting to ensure that all the participants have the required information to participate. And I will now rapidly take you through some of the most important aspects. As you know, the session will be presided from Fuzhou by His Excellency, our dear chairperson, the Vice Minister of Education, who is also the chairperson of the National Commission of the People's Republic of China for UNESCO, and who will chair over the session. And Mr. Chair, I will be very happy to be with you in a short time, together with you in Fuzhou. Now, as was just explained, the opening and the closing ceremonies will be held in Fuzhou, and they will be live streamed. So all the ambassadors and all delegations can watch it from wherever they are, whether in their home country or from Paris. And the session will take place from the 16th to 31st of July 21. And as agreed, we will have a one-day break on 20th of July. Now, the daily plenary sessions will be held from 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and that will be on Paris time. Even the chairperson and myself and the team in Fuzhou, we will work on Paris time. I hope this will work out. It's also a first in the history of this convention, but we will see. And we will have, of course, our bureau sessions as we always had in the past. One session at the day of the opening, which is here 16th of July from 3 to 4 p.m. And then we have daily bureau sessions from 18th to 30th of July. On the last day, the 31st of July, we don't have a bureau session, but normally we have daily a bureau session, which is from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Paris time. We are about 6 hours, I think, 6 hours time difference to Fuzhou. Now, concerning the preparation of the session and the side events. Now, all side events will be held online out of the plenary sessions. There's no side event in parallel to the plenary session. All requests need to go to the UNESCO Secretariat, to Mrs. Caroline Varnet and Mr. David Mattel. And the deadline for that is the 18th of June 21. And specific time slots will be allocated for each event. When you address your request to the UNESCO Secretariat, you will receive a form to fill in details regarding the type of event your country wishes to organize, as well as all the modalities for online attendance. Please note that the organizers of site events are responsible themselves for all organizational and technical matters related to their site event after they got the clearance from the Secretariat. The organizers also need to look into any questions concerning their platforms, etc. So the organizers organize themselves the site events once they have been approved. Now, concerning the information on registration documents, schedules, the site events, the technical note, all of this is available at the webpage, which has been done by our colleagues in Fuzhou, and the webpage based at the World Heritage Center for the 44th session. And you have the two links here on the screen. So you have all the relevant information, including the documents, the provisional schedule for certain agenda items, site events access, and technical notes here. Now, you know that we have already shared 22 information and working documents, which were dispatched on the 4th of June. And they are already accessible at this webpage, as you probably have seen. And a second dispatch will take place on the 21st of June with a number of the remaining documents. Now, the main participants of the World Heritage Committee session are, of course, the 21 members of the World Heritage Committees. Then the states parties to the convention. As you all know, we have a total of 194 states parties. And we may have also non-states parties to the convention, as well as the 3 advisory bodies in their advisory capacity. And these are the representatives of ICROM, ICOMOS, and IUCN who attend the session in this capacity. Now, concerning the Zoom platform, and I think you have tested it out quite well over the time with our dear chairperson, with our extraordinary sessions and other events like the information session today. But for the committee session, we have for the committee members 5 active connections. For observer states parties, 3 active connections. For other observers, 1 active connection, and for the advisory bodies, 5 active connections. So I just would like to run you through an example because sometimes this is misunderstood. We have obtained a total of up to 1,000 active participants. And of course, the committee is accessible to all states parties. Active participants, I should note, are potential speakers who may request the floor during the debate. Somebody has a microphone open, please close it. So that's also a good test. We don't want to have that during the committee session. So, as I said, all other observers, as defined by the rules 6, 7, and 8 of the rules of procedures, receive 1 active connection upon request and within the mentioned capacity limit because we have 1,000 connections. Now, let me give the example for a committee member. Maybe a committee member would like to register 35 participants. It's not a problem, but you have only 5 to access the Zoom at the same time. I know that some committee members organize themselves in a delegation or somewhere else so that they arrange the speaking through these connections. So there could be theoretically 1 access in the capital, 1 access in Miolis, or a second one in Miolis, etc. So it doesn't mean 5 participants. It means you can register 35, but you have 5 who have access to the Zoom platform at the same time. So you are also, especially the committee members, you are strongly encouraged to designate a contact person to whom the Secretariat may refer if there is an issue concerning the connections and the number of registered delegates per states party. Okay, but in principle, this should work. Now, for all other participants, we really recommend that you go through the live stream. This broadcast is accessible throughout the session for anybody who wishes to watch the World Heritage Committee session. And this is since we had the committee in St. Petersburg, the committee took a decision to have the session live streamed, and that's decision 35-COM-12B, which you have in front of you. Now, let me speak about the registration. The registration is absolutely crucial and important. There is an online registration form, which is on our webpage. You see the link here. And the registration code to access this registration here has been shared with the invitation letter, which was sent to all states parties on 17th of May. So I think this is a very important point, because please use your registration code, which was provided in the invitation letter of 17th of May to register. Now, once you have registered online and your registration has been confirmed, you will receive a notification email from Zoom with important information for accessing the online meeting, which means the access link and the passcode. I mean, you are all familiar with Zoom now, so you always need a passcode to enter the session. This confirmation email which you receive should be kept throughout the session to access the online meeting. So once you have this email, please keep it and use it to access the sessions. Now, a naming protocol will be applied by the Secretariat for all participants in order to identify them quickly and ensure a smooth management of access to the meeting as well as the speakers list. Now, you know that the speakers list is very important for the chairperson and myself as the secretary, because we need to follow the rules of procedure in terms of the speakers, meaning committee members, states parties, advisory bodies, other observers, etc. So therefore, all participants are kindly requested not to rename themselves, because the renaming will be done by the Secretariat. Now, concerning the conduct of the online meeting, the methods of work of... Hello? Please mute your microphones. So the conduct of the online meeting, the methods of work for the extended session were adopted by the committee itself, and that was during the 15th extraordinary session. And this is related to decision 15 EXT COM 3. And you see the details in the annex 4 of the document in case you would like to go back to this decision. Now, let me go through some of the important points. Now, the working languages of the committee, as you well know, is English and French. Now, interpretation will be in English, French, Chinese, and Spanish. So the members of the committee may wish to take the floor in one of these languages, because we have simultaneous interpretation in these 4 languages. So that's possible. Now, how to request the floor? You know your raise your hand button. This exists only with an active connection, okay? So that can be only done by those who have an active connection. This, of course, cannot be done if you watch the live stream. So once you have done your intervention, you have to mute again your microphone. I think you're all familiar with these procedures, and the list of speakers we will put in the chat box. I think that's quite useful for you, because then you know when it's your turn for the list of speakers, and the Secretariat will regularly draw up the list of speakers, and the chairperson and myself will be managing it from Fuzhou to ensure that everything is in line with the rules of procedure. Now, some of you may ask, how can I raise a procedural motion? So you put your raise hand button. So you click on your raise hand button, and then you type point of order in the chat box. So this is used by committee members. Okay, it's only for committee members wishing to signal a procedural motion, which, as you know, is rules 28 to 33 in our rules of procedure, such as, for example, a point of order. In that case, we will draw the attention of the chairperson to this matter, and that means the chairperson can take action as prescribed in the rules of procedure. Now, please note that the chat box should not be used for submitting any amendments. Amendments, we come back to the point of amendments later, but this is not via the chat box, and whatever you write in the chat box concerning amendments, it cannot be taken into account. Now, let us speak on the order of interventions. Of course, the order of speech will follow Rule 22, as you know, in the rules of procedures, and the order of speech follows this rule. Now, for the item of nominations, let me point this out specifically. And as we have little time at this session, because we have such an enormous amount of items to deal with, especially for the nominations. Now, after the decision for inscription is made by the committee, The submitting state may be invited by the chairperson to give a speech. Regardless of the format of the intervention, that state will have only 2 minutes. Now, as you know, we have some transnational and transboundary nominations. The duration of the intervention cannot exceed the 2 minutes in total. So I very much encourage the coordinating state for the nomination to discuss in advance the order and format of the intervention that will be made. Due to the reduced duration of the session and the necessity to allocate a fair amount of time to all files, the cooperation of the submitting states in respecting this time requirement would be very much appreciated, because we want to be fair to all states parties and not just to a few. Now, concerning the schedule for the agenda items, for the examination of the agenda items, I think the document which is the most important for all of you and the chair and myself as well is the timetable, which is document 3B. Now, in the provisional timetable of the session, this has been, by the way, circulated with the invitation letter, and it's also available on the webpage. Now, there is a slight difference to other committee meetings because of the issue of time zones. We will go for the examination of the agenda items to this on the state of conservation and the nominations. We would like to accommodate the different time zones. So this means we would like to see the active participation of all stakeholders in the different regions. And so we will go by region to accommodate the different time zones, and we will prepare a specific schedule available in due course. And this will be, of course, also uploaded on a dedicated webpage of the session. And I think that will greatly facilitate the work of the committee, especially your colleagues who are based in the different regions. Now, as you know, at the 15th extraordinary session, the committee agreed that a number of items will be proposed for adoption without debate. Why is that so? Because our time is extremely limited because of the online format, but also limited because we have the double number of nominations and of state of conservation reports. Okay, so this is the reason why the committee has agreed that a number of items will go for adoption without a debate. That means these items are listed already in a provisional timetable presented in the document 3B, and it is understood that the committee will only be asked to examine the related draft decision. So there is no presentation on these items, but I will come back later on these matters in my presentation. Now, also, what is very important for the committee members is amendments to draft decisions. Now, amendments can only be submitted by committee members, that's clear, and by email to the rapporteur. Here you find the email of the rapporteur. You will have an appropriate form to be provided. And as I said already, the chat box cannot be used for submitting amendments. They will not be considered, simply. So if you really want to make an amendment, please use the procedure, which is the amendments to be submitted to the rapporteur on the form which will be made available. Now, the submission of substantial proposals, so it's not if you want to change a word in the draft decision, but substantial proposals of amendment should be made at least 24 hours before the discussion of the agenda item concerned. And that is in accordance with Rule 23.3 of the Rules of Procedures. And these amendments we will upload on the webpage. Why is that so? Because we also need to translate into the other working language, but also that other committee members are informed of the amendments you wish to propose prior to the discussion of the item. And I think in this regard, we will save some time and unnecessary back and forwards. Now, since the negotiations of a text during an online session could be very time-consuming and complicated due to the technological constraints we have, members of the committee are really strongly encouraged to convene informal meetings and negotiations as appropriate on draft decisions and amendments. If possible, even before the session of the committee, but not during the plenary sessions, because you need to be fully in the discussions of the plenary sessions. So in case, of course, the chairperson sees that we are running into an issue, he can also call for drafting groups where normally he calls on several committee members, etc., together with the secretariat to work on the drafting. But that's a separate process. So we finished that point on the amendments. And now I would like to turn to the point on the working groups. Now, as you see in your timetable, on the first day, the item 14 and the item 12 will be opened. Now, the item 14 is the item on the budget, and that's something we need to do because it's a consultative body on the budget which needs to be established, and possibly a consultative body on the operational guidelines, which is under item 12. Now, therefore, once constituted, but that's totally a decision of the World Heritage Committee, once constituted, the meetings of these groups will be held in the format of separate online events, and the World Heritage Center will provide you with these links. And the dates and the hours will be determined accordingly. The practice in the past for these meetings of such groups has been that they take place at a different time frame than the plenary session. So in the past, if you remember, we had the budget group meetings at lunchtime. Now it's likely that we have to do it after the session, but that will be a proposal will be made by the Secretariat for the hours of the these specific groups, working groups, once they have been established by the committee on the first day. Now, another point which is certainly very important for the committee members, at the 15th extraordinary session of the committee, there was a decision concerning the voting arrangements, and these voting arrangements were approved by correspondence by the committee members on the 21st of May 21. Now, the voting in the committee normally shall be by show of hands. As you know, this is Rule 40.1. And the voting may also be by roll call if there's any doubt concerning the results of a show of hands, which would be then Rule 40.2, or at the request of at least 2 members of the committee, which is Rule 40.3. Now, roll call voting, if necessary, will be conducted in presentia in the UNESCO headquarters with the participation of the representatives of the committee to assure full transparency and compliance with the rigorous provisions of the rules of procedure. Now, concerning a secret ballot, if that happens, in order not to disrupt the plenary meetings and the continuation of the examination of subsequent agenda items, it is proposed that the ballot will be held in the morning of the day following the request or decision to hold the secret ballot, so that the result can be announced immediately at the resumed plenary meeting. Since the logistical arrangements for the session will be made from UNESCO headquarters, the member states of the committee will have to ensure that their representatives in Paris are available to come to the UNESCO headquarters building to vote accordingly to a schedule drawn up by the Secretariat, following the English alphabetical order of the member states of the committee. The information related to these representatives must reach the Secretariat electronically before the 12th of July. And here is the address of Mrs. Valenchon working at the World Heritage Center. So that would be much appreciated if you could comply with this request. Now, something which is very dear to our heart, also the heart of our chairperson, is the World Heritage Young Forum Professionals Forum from the 5th July to the 9th of July. You have the connection here, the link to the webpage in Fuzhou, and the inscription for this forum is now closed. We have also the World Heritage Sites Managers Forum, which is also established since the committee we had in Krakow in 2017. And this will take place from the 7th July to the 13th of July. And inscription for this forum has also closed. Now, in the annex of the document Inf1, you have also frequently asked questions. So while you're always welcome to write to the Secretariat, you may find the answers already in the annex of this document. So check if your question is in there and that you can find the answer immediately. Now, we very much encourage to have eco-friendly meetings at UNESCO in general, but this one will be especially eco-friendly because it seems that only a few people will be traveling, including myself. And but we encourage also all of you to do everything to save our planet and our very precious World Heritage sites. So use not plastic bottles, use water bottles, etc. Even if you meet in your own office with your teams. Now, one recommendation I would like to make, not only to the committee members, but to all states parties. Please use the basic text. This is the real important document. You should have it in front of your computer. It contains the convention itself, the rules of procedure, and the operational guidelines. It's really important that we all have the same basis we work on. And so it's very useful. It's fully available online, so you can click on it from our webpage. Now we will review the agenda, the timetable, and the documents, and I would like to provide further information regarding the working groups. Now, as our chairperson and our dear ambassador already explained, we have on Friday, the 16th of July 21, the opening ceremony from Fuzhou. And we have then, this will be continued with a bureau meeting, which goes from 3 to 4 p.m. and that will be all on Paris time. Now, the opening session, we have already spoken about this. Next item, item number 2, is the admission of observers. So we will have carefully checked all observer requests in lines with the rules of procedure. So the committee will adopt the admission of the observers then. Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda, which is your document 3A, and the timetable, which is your document 3B. I would like to just recall that the agenda of the session was already adopted by the committee at its 14th extraordinary session, which is decision 14 EXT-COM 4. The timetable was adopted by the committee at its 15th extraordinary session with decision 15 EXT.COM 3. Including a number of agenda items proposed to be adopted without debate. Those items appear with grey highlight in your document 3B. As explained to you, for these items, we go straight to the draft decision. And then that means we encourage you to read the documents well. And of course, the World Heritage Center and our advisory bodies, we are ready to answer any questions while examining specific paragraphs of the draft decision. But I think it's very important that you look carefully at these documents. And I will also flag these items without debate in my presentation today. The next point is the presentation of the report of the rapporteur of the 43rd session. You remember we met in Baku in 2019, and that's the report of Mrs. Mahani Taylor. It's again an item proposed without debate. Then item 14 is the presentation of the final accounts of the fund, etc. As I mentioned before, this item is being opened to constitute a consultative body, which we always call the budget working group. And the date and time of the working group meetings will be communicated by the Secretariat. I know this is a heavy workload for the committee members, but I hope we can manage that with approximately 3 sessions. And I will also we will also organize a budget briefing meeting on the 28th of June. I come back to this. Then item 11 is the opening of the item. So this is the report of the ad hoc working group. I think, Mr. Chair, the ad hoc working group seemed to have finished its work quite well. So there is, it's up to the committee. Now, if you go to item 12, because item 11 and 12 are very closely linked, which is the revision of the operational guidelines. So it's up to the committee whether a working group is needed at the session, and that is a decision to be taken by the World Heritage Committee. I know it's a heavy workload, but I'm quite pleased, Mr. Chair, that the work of the ad hoc working group under the leadership of China went so well. Now, item 5A, I regret very much, but this is also an item which is proposed without debate, because in this report we will give you, and we have provided it to you already, we report on all the activities the World Heritage Center has carried out to implement the decisions of the World Heritage Committee. We always would like to show this to you, but due to the situation this year, we cannot make a detailed presentation. But of course, we are ready to answer any questions when the chairperson is moving to the relevant paragraphs of the draft decision. The same is true for item 5B. Item 5B, it's the reports of the advisory bodies. We will move straight to the adoption of the draft decision, and we encourage you to read this document carefully. Now, the progress report on Priority Africa, Sustainable Development and World Heritage. Again, we move straight to the draft decision. So I encourage all to read that document as well. And the same is true for item 5D, which is on the World Heritage Convention and Sustainable Development, including the implementation of the 2015 policy on World Heritage and Sustainable Development. Now, item 6, it's again without debate on the capacity building strategy and the progress report on the work of the category 2 centers. We encourage you to read this document carefully. And then we come to an item which is the video message from the young heritage professionals and the site managers online fora. I would like to inform you there was a little typo in document 3B on 17th July at 3:15. There is in the English version, I think, some editing which remained visible in the English, but in French it's correct. And as I indicated in my presentation already, there are these 2 fora which take place this year, which are hosted online by China, the World Heritage Young Professionals Forum and the Site Managers Forum, and the video messages to the World Heritage Committee will be presented from those 2 fora. Then we will open an important item, which is general points on the state of conservation of World Heritage properties. And this item will remain open in case the committee wishes to add something to the decision when they come to the discussion on specific items under item 7A and 7B. So this will be closed only at the end of when we have finished 7B. Then item 7C, we will present a draft updated policy document on climate change. I think this is a great achievement which the committee will look at. And I would like to inform you that on this Friday, we will present an online information meeting from 12:30 to 3 p.m. so that you have the full information on this document and the work which led to this document prior to the session. So that will enable the chairperson to go through this in a shorter time so that everybody is informed of this document prior to the session itself. Now, then we come to item 7A, which is the state of conservation of the World Heritage sites inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. As you know, we have 53 sites globally, and a specific timetable will take into account the different time zones for all the stakeholders at the session. We will do so when we have the final list of state of conservation reports, which will be discussed. Now, as you know, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies propose only items from item 7A for discussion when there is a proposal for the removal from the list of World Heritage in danger or deletion of a site on the list of World Heritage in danger. So for these 2 points, we will propose a discussion for the committee because you have to take a decision on the removal or on deletion of a property from the World Heritage list. Now, item 7B, as you all know, this is the state of conservation of sites on the World Heritage list. And we only open for discussion properties which are proposed for the list of World Heritage in danger at this session. Now, next slide, we have a total of 258 state of conservation reports. Under 7A, we have the reports on the 53 sites which are on the danger list. We have 3 general decisions, and under 7B, we have 202 reports in the documents. In the first dispatch on the 4th of June, we have sent out 187 reports already. And I'm looking at my team. I think we have 69 to go, if my calculation is correct. So you will get in the next dispatch 69 reports or slightly. It's around that figure. Now, and that is a very important document INF 7. Now, in the email sent to you on the 4th of June, We included some information related to the procedure to follow to request a state of conservation report to be opened for discussion. As you all know, we cannot discuss all the 283 258 reports. So we open only a certain amount for discussion. The Secretariat makes the proposal, and then the committee members, only the committee members, can open other reports for discussion, and they would need to provide a reason. Okay, now the list will be circulated to you in information document INF7 on the 21st of June. Now then, next slide please, the committee members can open other sites for discussion, and the deadline for this request is the 5th of July, and you need to provide also a reason, you see. And that's the procedure we have been following now for a number of years, and then it enables the chairperson, when we come to the item, to give the floor to the committee member who requests it, and the committee member explains the reason, and then we go to that item. So this revised list on the items opened for discussion will be then circulated on the 5th of July, when we have all the requests for opening sites for discussion, and then we circulate that in a document which is called INF7 Rev. So it's a revised version of that document. Now then we come to item 8, which is a general item on the nomination process. You have a number of discussions there, which are very important. We report back on the report on the global strategy, which was requested by the committee, and we report back on the matter of the memory sites. As you all remember, we had in January already an information session on this matter, so this will be discussed under item 8. Now, item 8A is the tentative list submitted by states parties. This is an item proposed without debate, so we count on you that you have reviewed your document carefully. And then we come to an item which is very important for many states parties. It's the nominations to the World Heritage List. It goes as for the state of conservation item with a specific timetable, because we would like to facilitate the work in the different time zones. And this specific timetable will be then made available on our webpage. Now, I would like to give you an overview on the nomination statistics as they stand at the moment. The committee has to examine 45 nominations. 26 were submitted for the year 2020. As you remember, we didn't have a committee session in 2020, an ordinary session. And 19 submitted for 21, which is a total of 7 natural, 1 mixed, and 37 cultural nominations. 36 are new nominations, 3 are significant boundary modifications, 6 are deferred and referred nominations, and I have to inform you that currently 1 nomination was withdrawn and 2 nominations were not evaluated for different reasons. I can explain that to you if you wish, but 1 could not be evaluated for security reasons. The mission could not go. So, and we have a total of 17 minor boundary modifications. Now, if you look at the statistics of the recommendations of the advisory bodies as they stand currently, you see that here for inscription, referral, deferral, and non-inscription. And you have under decisions in 8B add, these are decisions, they will be only dispatched with the next dispatch. So on the 21st of June. So you have a total of examination, as you can see in front of you, 7 natural, 1 mixed, and 37 sites, cultural sites, which means a total of 45 nominations, which is a very high amount, Mr. Chair, and I hope we manage this during the session. Now, what is the order of the examination? If we go now to the order, this is, first of all, we go for the nominations which are submitted for examination in 2020. Now, you see that on the page 5 of your document 8B, and this will be examined by the committee by regional zones to allow for the different time zones. And then we go to the nominations submitted for 21, which will be examined by the committee again by different regional and time zones. And then we go to the minor boundary modifications. Now, for the minor boundary modifications, there will be no debate for those which are recommended, but there will be a presentation for those which are not recommended, as far as I understand. And then we come to item 8D, again, an item on clarifications of boundaries, which is proposed without debate. So we recommend that you carefully read your document so that the chairperson can move into the decision. Item 8E, the same. For the statements of OUV, please read the document. The chairperson will move into the decision immediately. And the same for the update of the World Heritage List and the list of World Heritage in danger, which is a document which we can, of course, only produce during the session, as you know, because it depends on the committee's decision. Now, item 9A on the upstream process, again, please read the document, an item proposed without debate. And then we come to the item 10A. As you know, this is very important. There will be 2 final reports this year from the Arab states and the Africa region. And you know, this is a very important item on the periodic reporting because it enables really the committee to get a full overview of a whole region and to adopt an action plan for the years to come and assess critical issues. So the second region is the Africa region, and it's actually great that we have at the same session the whole African continent to look at in terms of periodic reporting. Then item 10C, we have, of course, a progress report on the previous cycles and the implementation of the decisions for the other regions. So this is proposed without debate. The same for item 10D. It's the preparation of the cycle of periodic reporting for the other regions. As you know, we are moving then into Asia, Pacific, Latin America, and the Caribbean as well into Europe to complete the 3rd cycle of periodic reporting. And then we will close the item on state of conservation, which is the general item, you know, where we look at statutory matters related to reactive monitoring. We look at specific conservation issues such as fires or the issue of reconstruction. So we will close this item then. And then we will also close the item on the ad hoc working group, which is 11, and closely linked item 12 on the revisions of the operational guidelines. And then item 8, we also close that item, which is the general item on the nomination process. And we come to the international assistance, which is item 13, where the committee looks at the approval of international assistance. And we will also receive under item 14 the report of the budget working group and hopefully the decision from that budget working group. As I indicated to you earlier, on the 28th of June, next slide please, we do an online budget briefing which is important for you to learn where we stand with the budget prior to the session itself. And that, I think, can facilitate the debate of the committee. And then we come under item 15 to other business. And item 16, which is the election of the chairperson, the vice chairpersons, and the rapporteur of the 45th session of the World Heritage Committee. As you know, the committee took already a decision to have it in Kazan, Russian Federation, but the committee needs to elect the chairperson, the vice chairpersons, and the rapporteur. Now, I am aware that a number of groups, for a number of groups, the committee members will go out of the committee. I think it's group 1, 2, and 3. That means we will need to organize an extraordinary session of the World Heritage Committee after the elections at the General Assembly in November. As you know, the General Assembly of the states parties to the World Heritage Convention takes place on the last day of the General Conference of UNESCO and the next day, and they elect the new members of the World Heritage Committee. So that may happen, but we will elect under item 16 at least the vice chairpersons. If they need to go out, they will be replaced then in November. Item 17 is the provisional agenda of the 45th session. So during the session, we take good note as a secretariat of any new items you wish to include. And then we come under item 18, the adoption of the report of decisions. This will be conducted with our dear rapporteur, Mrs. Mirai Hassaltun-Wozinski, and with the assistance of the secretariat, of course. And then we come under item 19 to the closing session of the 44th extended session in Fuju. And with that, Mr. Chair, I give the floor back to you, and I would like to thank you very much. I may have been a little bit long, but I thought it was important for all of you to be fully briefed on the session beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very informative presentation. I'd like to commend the excellent work of the Secretariat led by Ms. Rosler. If there are questions and comments, please don't hesitate to raise them. Please.
Mr. Chair, there is a question from Australia in the chat, but maybe Australia wishes to take the floor.
Okay. The representative of Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me speak?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yes, Dr. Rosler, I was just wanting to clarify the process that you outlined in relation to timeframes for submitting amendments to draft decisions. I understand that committee members must submit a proposal to open a state of conservation for discussion that has not been listed for discussion by the 5th of July. So that was very clear. Thank you. But I'm thinking about the earlier comment around amendments to draft decisions, and you're saying they must be submitted at least 24 hours in advance of the scheduled discussion by the committee. Is this the same for state of conservation as a nomination? So the process would be a committee member indicated a wish to discuss the state of conservation on or before the 5th of July. But if they wanted to propose an amendment to a draft decision, that could happen anytime up to 24 hours before the discussion was to occur. Can you just confirm that is the correct understanding? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to answer or you want to collect questions, please?
I think collect questions first.
I think Greece wishes to speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay. The representative of Greece, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank the Secretariat and personally Mrs. Ressler for the excellent work. I have some questions, procedural ones. First of all, you mentioned that on a daily basis, there is a bureau session before the full session. I would like to know if after this bureau session, there will be a briefing on their content or not. Then another technical question is if we could have time for a rehearsal, let's say even the previous of the opening day, so that we all know that the active connections are in place. And then another question I have is if there is a provision, I think it was briefly mentioned, for private meetings from one day to the next then. And then concerning the time allocation, Mrs. Ressler mentioned to the observer states, I would like a further clarification about the possibility for observer member states to have an additional allocated time for example, for a response to a comment of another observer or member states on an issue. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now the representative of Mali, you have the floor.
Okay, merci bien.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank China and for the World Heritage Center for this excellent presentation, which has been extremely informative. That said, I'm not sure how we're going to share the active connections. There are 5 active connections per member, you said. In your presentation, you said there will be 5 per member of the committee. And I don't know which one of us will be connected, which ones will not be allowed to connect, etc. And about the secret bulletin vote, you said 12th July, before 12th July, is that right? I didn't understand what this deadline was for. Could you just repeat? And finally, Mali thought that it would be a good idea to have this presentation in French as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the representative of Argentina, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Merci, Madame.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Ressler. One question about memory cities. We thought that this question would be dealt with when the operational guidelines will be examined. And we would like to know if you had information about this particular point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I think I'd like to invite Ms. Ressler to answer questions that have been raised just now. Ms. Ressler, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to answer the question from Australia, which is always the same for any amendment. So it can be an amendment to a state of conservation report, an amendment to a proposed inscription or referral or deferral, whatever it is, from the World Heritage Committee. It's the 24-hour time frame. It is considered for major amendments. The committee introduced this because committee members were surprised to get last-minute major amendments to draft decisions. So this is applied across the board practically for all decisions of the committee. Then the question from Greece, it's on the Bureau session. The Bureau sessions can be attended not only by the committee members, but also by the observer states parties. So there can be any of the observer states parties can attend that. Then there is no debriefing of the Bureau as such, but the chairperson will inform the full committee when he comes out of the Bureau session of any decisions to be taken. For example, if we are late in the agenda, what decisions will be taken, which he has discussed with the Bureau to address that matter, just to take this this example. Then provisions for private meetings, of course, this is the case, but this happened very, very rarely. I can only, in my 30 years, remember one single private session. So this is totally up to the World Heritage Committee. And then the time allocation, this is a prerogative of the chairperson. This is absolutely his right to allocate maybe more time if there is an additional question by committee members to a specific state party. For example, if we discuss a state of conservation report and the committee wishes to know whether the management plan has now been finally adopted, yes or no, he gives the floor to the state party concerned to answer that question. In terms of the rehearsal, we recommend that you connect early and to test out your connections. Then, merci beaucoup pour les questions.
Thank you very much for your question, Mali. Of course, we'll share the French version of the PowerPoint with you. You can find it on the website. And you can look at the various specific points you mentioned. And the deadline that I mentioned, 12th July, this is the deadline to send us the names and the list of representatives. And this is very important for us at the Secretariat. So, for instance, Mali's list with the head of the delegation. This is extremely crucial for the Secretariat.
From Argentina, I would like to recall that the discussions on the memory sites goes on for a couple of years. We have done in January the information session to present the 3 reports, and we had these 3 reports presented by the chairpersons of the expert meeting, by the experts who did the research, and by ICOMOS. And these 3 reports are now in front of you. And of course, this is an item 8, which is an item open for discussion because the committee needs to reflect on that. And I'm sure that that will be an in-depth discussion, but it is a reflection which is ongoing. So I cannot make any further comments on this, but if you have a specific question, you can get back to the Secretariat. Is there anything I've missed out? I don't think. Australia? I see, Mr. Chair, there is another question from Australia in the chat, whether the Indigenous Peoples Forum will be proceeding at the 44th session. As you know, the Indigenous Peoples Forum has been created at the session in Warsaw, in Krakow in 2017, and we are in touch, of course, with this forum. I'm not sure whether they have a meeting foreseen this year, but we will get back to Australia if we have any information on that. So far, I don't think this is happening, but they will participate as observers at the session itself. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Any more questions or comments? Any more questions?
I don't think so. There's a question from Greece, 7B.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you wish me to answer the question from Greece. It's a question that whether the Secretary intends to open the discussion on item 7B. Now, item 7B is a total of 100, give me the figure, 202 state of conservation reports. As I explained, dear colleagues, we don't open every state of conservation report. The Secretariat opens only items under 7B of sites which are proposed for danger listing, because the committee needs to discuss these proposals, okay? Now, the committee members are free to open any other items under item 7B, but in this case, the committee member needs to inform us with the exact reason why they wish to open an item, meaning a site, under item 7B. And this was clearly indicated already in the mail we sent on 4th of June, if you would like to get back to that point. Mr. Chair, I'm not sure, there may be something from the delegation of Uruguay.
Yes.
Yes.
The representative of Uruguay, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Did you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much. I am sorry for my camera. I don't know why it is not available. However, my question was in the chat. I only want to confirm that the last date to present the integration of our national delegation is 12th of July. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now the representative of Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very brief question. Perhaps I missed something from Dr. Hosler concerning the memory sites. Will that subject be dealt with under any specific item? Just to make sure that I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions?
I don't think so, Mr. Chair. You want me to answer?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So as I said, the 12th of July is the deadline to get the lists of delegations, indicating clearly also the head of delegation for each of the observer states and the committee members. Okay, if you send it on the 13th of July, I think we can manage. But, you know, the later it is, the more difficult for the Secretariat it is to work on that. Now, to answer the question from Brazil, yes, the item on memory sites is under item 8, general. As I said, we present there the results of the study on the global strategy, but also all the 3 studies which have been carried out on the matter of memory sites. All of this you find in document item 8. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Any more questions?
Mr. Chair, I think there was a question from Mongolia.
Okay, the representative of Mongolia, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And yeah, apologies for not being able to show my video. We are aware that we can have 3 active speakers during the conference, but we would like to clarify how many delegates can register before the meeting as an observer state party. Is it 25 or is it 10, or we just want to clarify? Thank you very much.
Okay, Thank you. Any more questions?
I think Greece has another question.
Okay, please, Greece, you have the floor. Yes, the representative of Greece, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask a further clarification concerning the possibility of observer member states to take briefly the floor during the discussion of agenda item 7C. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
No, there seem to be no more questions. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Rossler, now maybe you can answer the questions. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So first of all, the question from Mongolia. No, there is no limit to the number of persons to register as participants for the delegation. What the limit is the number of links on the Zoom. But the other participants can really follow the session over the live stream. So it's just the limit is with this access to the Zoom platform with a maximum of 3 participants per observer state, as we indicated. But we will also upload the PowerPoint so that you can see that in English and French again. Then the question of Greece, which is on item 7C, which is the item on climate change. First of all, on Friday, we will give a separate information session on climate change so that you are all familiar with the document. And then, of course, during the committee, the states parties can intervene and ask for clarifications or comments. Time will be limited by the chairperson. Please make then focused statements in case you wish to take the floor, but this is absolutely possible. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your clarification. Any more questions?
I don't think so. If you wish, we can now move to the orientation session.
Okay. Dear representatives, colleagues, and friends, we are about to conclude today's information session, which was very important and fruitful. I believe that the information and the exchanges that we've had today will pave the way to the success of the upcoming 44th session of the World Heritage Committee. I wish to thank once again the UNESCO Secretariat and the Chinese authorities for their presentations and for the inspiring inputs and comments from all the participants. In fact, I'd like to encourage you all to maintain a close communication and open dialogue on the concerned issues to reach consensus before the opening of the plenary session. Thus, to allow for better preparation to this common work, it is also my pleasure to inform you that the orientation session for committee members will take place in a short moment. This session will cover several topics and key notions related to relevant procedures in the framework of the implementation of the World Heritage Convention, including the concept of outstanding universal value and the different processes of the convention. I count on your efforts to embark on a new collective journey for World Heritage in 1 month in July. I now leave the floor to the team who is responsible for the organization of the orientation session. See you soon. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson, and all best regards to the team in China. Now, concerning the orientation session, we would like to inform you, and that was indicated in the letter of invitation you received ahead of this meeting. And due to time constraints, this session will be limited to an exchange between the members of the committee, secretariat, advisory bodies, and we are very pleased to respond to any question you may have on the World Heritage concept and the processes. And to prepare yourself for this exchange, we have shared the video recording and the PowerPoint presentations of the last session in 2019, because our time is very limited here. Now with this, I would like to turn over to my colleague, Mr. Joe King from ICROM, and we stand ready to answer any questions from your side, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Director Rossler. As has been mentioned already, and given the challenges that we're facing this year, it was agreed not to have a presentation by the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies as part of this orientation session. Just to recall, the orientation sessions usually cover procedural issues for committee members in regard to the implementation of the committee session. And in addition, as the chairperson mentioned, there is usually a review of the concept of outstanding universal value, which underpins all the processes of the World Heritage Convention, the nomination process, the SOC process, including issues related to danger listing. And then furthermore, we usually treat special topics at each meeting, which are useful to committee members, such as issues related to boundaries and buffer zones, serial properties, and mixed properties, just to name a few. This year, we have already had a very long discussion already today on procedural issues, very well explained by the director of the World Heritage Center. So I'm hoping that there are no additional procedural issues that may be coming up. But for other topics, again, you can have a look at the video that was attached to the invitation to this meeting so that you can see the last orientation session that we had in Baku in 2019. And the idea now would be to find out if you can ask, if you have any questions that you may want to ask the World Heritage Center, the advisory bodies on any of these topics. So in a way, for those of you familiar with our side events, during a normal committee session, we often have a question and answer session with the advisory bodies. So in a way, you can treat this as that kind of a question and answer session. One final point, however, before I go to any questions, is that we would ask that your questions at the orientation session not refer to specific properties that will be discussed during the 44th session of the committee. Those discussions will take place during the committee, of course. And so we ask that your questions now be more general or more procedural in nature, rather than opening a discussion of a particular property, which will ultimately be discussed by the 44th session of the committee. So with that, I would like to ask if there are any questions. And actually, I'm going to ask the World Heritage Center if you can take down the slide, because I actually can't see if anyone is actually requesting the floor. Yeah, thank you. It's certainly very possible that you may be questioned out already from the earlier very thorough discussion that we had about the procedures. So it may be that there are no additional questions. But let me just give you a few minutes in case something comes to mind specifically. And again, I would absolutely invite everyone who has not had a chance to look at the video that the World Heritage Center has sent the link to in the invitation, to look at that in any event, because that video will show some of the all of the presentations from the orientation session from 2019. And I don't see any other
Joe, if there are no questions, we will upload the PowerPoint, and maybe some committee members and states parties wish to look at the films again on specific questions.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, if there's nothing coming, I encourage countries, if they wish to have answers to very specific questions, we would like to share them then with the advisory bodies, and we will get back to you. I would like to thank everybody coming to the session today, and thank Joe and the colleagues from ICOMOS and IUCN for joining us. And please do not hesitate to share with you any questions and concerns. My team is also telling me that there will be a rehearsal the day before the World Heritage Committee, so because to take your concerns into account, that everything, a technical rehearsal, so that to make absolutely sure that everything is working. Okay, with this, I think we would like to thank all of you, the chairperson, the ambassador of China, all the committee members, all the states parties and advisory bodies for your participation today, and we wish you a great afternoon or evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.